Hello and welcome to the MovieKing Podcast. My name is David Jurmann and I'll be your host. On today's episode, I'm going to review the film Obsession, and in the second half, I'm going to review the movie Mortal Kombat II. So starting off with Obsession, this is a film I had been hearing about with some whispers here and there over the last several months. This film was at festivals and had great buzz out of them, and this is also a horror movie directed by YouTuber Curry Barker, and it's a very small film, only costing less than $1 million, and has some relatively small actors in it, until now, I think. As for the leads in this film, you have Michael Johnston, who is only really known for his role in Teen Wolf, haven't really seen it, and then Indy Neverett was in the CW show Superman and Lois, and I had never seen anything from Johnston before, but I had watched Superman and Lois and always thought Neverett was one of the standouts in it, just as far as actors go. Like, I thought she was really good. Now, before I get into the performances, I'll just say a quick summary of what this movie is even about. And basically, it's about a guy named Bear who, and that's his nickname anyway, his nickname is Bear. He likes this girl named Nikki, and when he makes a wish that she would like him back, things begin to get out of hand and something sinister might be at play. When I first walked out of the movie, I thought, yeah, that was a very good film. That was really nice. But the more I've thought about it, the more I like it, and the more I'm noticing things that I didn't even see originally. And I guess you could say I'm even obsessed about it, pun intended. This is one of those movies, though, that demands a repeat viewing and discussion with others because there is just so much to unpack here. There's so much to think about and discuss and just kind of analyze here. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen a horror movie I was really that obsessed with in that way. I think a few years back, I saw the TV Glow. That's probably the last one I can really remember, like, to this extent, really thinking about this much and just kind of, like, looking back on it, being like, what did that mean? Like, what was this scene trying to say here? And, that kind of approach won't work for everybody. Some people might, this movie is a lot more, like, digestible, I think, to most people. Like, I saw the TV Glow was very much like an interpret kind of movie. This is a little, like, you can watch this movie and just kind of see it normally, but I think if you want to look at it a little deeper, there's a lot to unpack there. But anyway, let me say first and foremost that Indy Neverett's performance carries this movie. Johnston is great too and has an arguably more challenging role in having to play this much more quiet and softly spoken character who needs to be a mix of sympathetic but also sell a lot of bad decisions his character makes. And, because his character he does kind of go into, like, villain territory a bit, but he has to be seen as the good guy in parts too, just so you can kind of sympathize with him and kind of, want him to succeed at first. So I think he really does this all super well, though. I think his performance really shows both sides of that. And I think what he does a great job of is, like, you can really just see where his intentions lie and where this character, like, thinks he's in the right here. That was really well done. Like, very good performance on his part. Probably a very underrated performance, but that's only because of Indy Neverett, who I think genuinely gives the best performance I've seen in a horror movie since Pearl, all the way back in 2022. Yes, even better than Academy Award nominated Demi Moore in The Substance, and also Naomi Watts in Smile 2. I think that she is better than both of them. Obviously, I think those performances are both great, but what Neverett manages to accomplish here cannot be understated. She has this multi-layered performance that has to convey so many different things, and she does it brilliantly. Not to mention that she walks this super thin line between uncanny and loving and insane, and also scared. It's incredible to watch, and there are a lot of scenes where she has to completely flip her character's mood and reaction in, like, a split second, and, like, in a snap, and she does it seamlessly. Like, it's incredible how much she's able to just, like, adjust her performance so quickly. And I know it's all done on film and, like, she can, do as many takes as she needs, but it's still super impressive. Maybe the most impressive I've seen this kind of performance done since maybe, like, James McAvoy in Split and Glass, like getting with the multiple personality disorder. It's that kind of performance where it just really does a lot of switching around and you just never know where her character is going to go. So she did a fantastic job. I mean, horror doesn't have a great track record at the Oscars usually. There's a lot of performances that I think have been snubbed for performances in horror movies. So I wouldn't bet money on it, but if it were up to me, she would have an Oscar nomination for sure. Now, as for the movie itself, it's this very well executed version of something we've kind of seen before. It's kind of ironic because I kind of wanted to say that Blumhouse would have made like a much more generic version of this movie if they made one. But the truth is, this movie actually is made by none other than Blumhouse. So congratulations to them. They really outdid themselves here. You could have fooled me. This really does feel like an A24 film or like a Neon movie. Like it feels like one of those, very big horror, more indie distributor kind of films. Not so much just like a Universal Focus Features Blumhouse collaboration, but it really is a good movie. Like it's just great. But anyway, we've kind of all seen these wishbone monkey paws stories where someone wants something and gets it, but at a cost. And where Obsession really stands out is both in the performances and the direction. I already talked about the performances, but Curry Barker does such a good job here and really puts his mark on this movie. The sound mixing is fantastic. It's very unsettling to watch. He finds a great balance of dread and bleakness, but also has some solid laughs in there as well. Like it just does a really good job tonally of making things work. And that kind of does lead me to my next point. This movie is dark. It's kind of hopeless, actually. Like, there are several things in this movie that would make someone sad or upset, and does it super well, but it won't be for everyone, especially if you want to walk away from this movie feeling happy, I guess. Like, I think there's like two types of horror movies. Like, there's the type of horror movie where things are really bad, but, the characters just find a way to, like, really overcome things. And then there's the horror movie where everything just keeps going wrong and it just gets really like upsetting to watch. And this movie falls more in the latter of that. It's just a really bleak story. And I think it just does a really good job there. But as I kind of mentioned before, this movie is actually very scary and it's so uncomfortable in unexpected ways. Like there's one shot of Nikki smiling for a solid 20 to 30 seconds. Maybe it was less, maybe it was more. It felt like forever. But it made me like squirm in my seat just because I was really, really uncomfortable by it. It's literally just smiling. And I was like, and it's not even like the creepy smile, like from the movie smile. It's like just a normal, happy smile. And just the picture of it I saw online, like out of context, I'm like, that's not so bad. But like in the movie, it's just so uncomfortable. Oh my God. There's another scene that was also just so violent and disturbing that my jaw was like completely wide open and my body like involuntarily froze up. Just really goes to show like how much of an effect this movie had on me. And a lot of horror movies get hyped up as super scary and amazing, but they don't fully live up to it. But I think Obsession does. My only real issue with the film is that there are a few areas I wish it explored a little more deeply. I can't get into much more detail than that because it would go into spoilers, but there are a few ideas I kind of wish the movie just touched on a little more. There's one scene, I'm going very vague details just to kind of give anyone who has seen the movie an idea of what I'm talking about. There's one scene where someone's sleeping and they begin to speak a little bit, and I thought that was kind of like an example of like I would have liked a little more on that, just a little more of just kind of like exploring like what's going on there. But really, there are so many small details in this movie that I'm still finding to this day that I didn't even notice on a first viewing. That by the time I see this movie again, that issue may be gone entirely. Like there really is a ton to just like there's a lot of puzzle pieces in this movie that you could put together and add new context to things you didn't have before. And I think like if I have enough of that, maybe some of my issues with like, oh, I wanted a little more out of that could go away. We'll see. But that's really my only issue with the film. I think Obsession is a really great movie that I loved and really haven't been able to stop thinking about since I saw it. Right now, it's my favorite movie of the year so far, and if you're a horror fan, I would highly recommend it. So I'm going to give Obsession an A minus. All right, and next up is Mortal Kombat 2. I had very mixed anticipation for this movie. I really wasn't a fan of the original Mortal Kombat movies. I mean, the original is a classic, but I find it super cheesy, and I think it aged poorly, to be honest. Can't deny the Mortal Kombat theme is super iconic, though, from that movie, and it's even made its way into this film as well. Like, it's just a really iconic theme song. But anyway, its sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, basically killed any film adaptations for decades because of how bad it was. And for those who don't know, that movie is in my top 5 worst movies of all time list. Like, I think it's an atrocious movie. It's so bad. And then we got a Mortal Kombat movie, though, in 2021 that tried to be a little more like the games and be more modern and all that stuff. But it took itself way too seriously, and it honestly was kind of boring. Like, I rewatched it right before this film, since this is a sequel to that movie. I thought it aged worse than I remembered it. Wasn't good. Really just thought it was uninteresting. And to hear that the same director from that movie was coming back for the sequel didn't really get me excited, because when that happens, usually it's like, oh, like it's just gonna be like basically exactly how the first one was. And also, I thought a lot of things in the first movie just didn't work. Like, I thought the action was good, but it was way too edited, and there were just some other issues. And I was like, why are they bringing this guy back? And also, I think that was his first big movie. I don't really know if he did anything before that. Nothing against the guy. I just don't know why they gave him that movie. But anyway, they did get a new writer for Mortal Kombat 2, so I was like, okay, maybe there's something there. And supposedly, this is what got me actually excited for it. Supposedly, test screenings went so well for this movie that it gave Warner Brothers the confidence to move it from an October 2025 release date to 2026 in May, so it could be like a summer blockbuster. And I think that's a really good sign. Like, that Warner Brothers really was like, yes, we think this movie is going to do super well in the summer. We want it to play big. Ultimately, that was probably the wrong move, because the movie's not making like a ton of money. So, I don't know, maybe they should have kept it in October. I think they kind of lost some of the hype that was there because they moved it so far away, but who's to say? But I do want to say that this movie is actually a lot of fun. Is it perfect? No. Is it a flawless victory? Definitely not. Is it even a good movie? Debatable. But did I enjoy myself? Is this a good time at the movies? I would say absolutely. I mean, when we look at video game adaptations, the issue that so many have is that they get bogged down by typical Hollywood tropes, and they forget to serve the fans of the games. Or you get the opposite issue, which is that maybe they'll serve the fans of the games too much and then not leave any room for newcomers. And I think very few video game movies have that balance that satisfies both fans of the game and newcomers alike. And I really don't know why that's so hard, because it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be hard at all. Like, it's just give some nice fan service to people who like the games, and just give a story that the general audience can follow. It's like comic book movies have been doing that for so long. And I get it. I mean, video games are typically not a narrative medium. Like, they're not. I think I kind of talked about it in my Mario review. Like, Mario is not a story-driven game. Like, you can't really have that much of a story in a Mario game. In a movie, you need more story. But going back to the Super Mario Galaxy movie, like, it's a coherent film, but it's so filled with references and doesn't put effort into a story, so it leaves casual viewers, I think, feeling kind of left out. Like, there's just not much there for them. And then you have the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which is all fan service with no explanation, so it makes like no sense to the average person. And then on the other hand, you have movies like Sonic and Until Dawn, which are fine, but feel very generic and made by Hollywood. And, people like Sonic a lot, but I would argue like they're just okay movies, really. Like, they're decent. I just don't really think there's anything to them that like makes it feel like, oh my god, this is like the Sonic movie I always wanted. Like, it has just the generic, like, oh, there's a human character who befriends, the alien and whatever, yada yada yada. They're just not great movies. And even the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie was so insecure about itself that it created a new character to get newcomers invested, even though they have a large roster to choose from. And what I mean by that is basically they made the protagonist of that movie a new character that they wrote for this movie. And but it's Mortal Kombat, so it's like they have so many characters that people know and love, that the fans know and love. So what you're doing is you're giving a character that nobody from, no fans of the game are aware of. And newcomers, like, they don't really know who this guy is, so it's like, okay, why are we following this guy? And he wasn't an interesting character, so I just don't really know. I get the point of, like, okay, let's introduce the world of Mortal Kombat to someone who's never experienced it, and I get that. It just wasn't done very well, and I think they probably shouldn't have done it in the first place. This movie makes up for that a little bit, this, Mortal Kombat 2, but anyway, talking about Mortal Kombat 2 now, with all the setup out of the way, Mortal Kombat 2 is able to be what the first film should have been all along. It's about the tournament, we get better characters, the action is a lot more consistent and well edited, and the tone is more fun. It's a very silly movie that knows it's silly, but that's why it's fun. It's a schlocky B movie, but it has a bit more going for it over that original Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s, and it's certainly a lot more enjoyable than the 2021 movie. I'm not even going to mention Mortal Kombat Annihilation because this movie like runs laps around that. But this movie just is a lot of fun, and I think it's because Johnny Cage and Katana are at the heart of the film and are very enjoyable characters. I mean, they always both were some of my favorites in the game, and for good reason. I mean, I think they're a lot of people's favorites. It also just feels like the fights in this movie have a lot more purpose and impact, like, which is something the games did well. I mean, like when you fight someone in the game, it often feels like, okay, we're actually moving the story forward, and I think that's why this is a successful video game adaptation, because it understands that the fights have to mean something to people. It can't just be fan service for fan service sake. And it does something similar to Avengers Infinity War. Whether you think it's as done as well as that film or not, totally up to debate. I think most people would say it's not done as well as that movie, but anyway, my point still stands. What it does similar to that movie is that the action sequences contribute something to the story. They have something to say, and I think that makes the action feel a lot more purposeful and impactful, and it feels like less fan service and more of a storytelling tool. There's one fight in particular with Liu Kang and Kung Lao that probably is the best fight in the whole movie, and I found it extremely epic to watch. But by the end of it, it's also one of the most emotionally resonant scenes in the film. It actually has like a little bit of like, an emotional gut punch to it. And speaking of which, the fatalities in this movie are really brutal. Like they're really good. But anyway, this fight did have weight to it, and I thought that was really nice because it made the fights just feel, it felt like they mattered. Like, it felt like you wanted to watch them, and you were actually, like, interested to see what was going to happen. Like, maybe something wasn't going to be okay by the end of it, and maybe, a character you do care about would die. And I think the characters could have been a little more developed, because I think if they were, this could have been, like, the Suicide Squad or something, where when a character does, like, bite the bullet, you really feel the impact of it. I don't think the characters here are nearly as good as that film, so it's like, if they die, you're not really like devastated by it, but you're just kind of like, ah, that sucks. But going back to the fights, you also have this one fight with Johnny Cage and Baraka, which isn't nearly as emotional to watch, but it's just hilarious and super entertaining, and it's just a very well done scene. I really enjoyed that one a lot. It's one of my favorites in the movie, also. So I do understand, though, where people have issues with this movie. Honestly, on a first watch, I didn't notice a ton of them, but I did see a lot more of them on a second viewing when I was really just paying more attention to it. I also just kind of had some of the magic wear off, because, like, the first time I watched it in IMAX, and, it had some fun little things in there where, like, it had some fun little effects in there, like when a fight would start, like the screen would open up more exactly like it does in the game. That was just really fun, and I don't know, when I watched it in standard the second time, normally I don't think, like, watching it in a different format really makes the movie better or worse, but in this case, I was like, maybe it took a little bit of the magic away from it, and I kind of could see it a little more for what it is. Not to mention, I also just kind of had, like, just a little more hype going into it the first time, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, the second time, you're paying more attention to the story, and I could see a little more problems with it. Like, I think Carl Urban as Johnny Cage has some bizarre line delivery. Like, I noticed that a little the first time. It was a little more apparent the second time. The editing, like, scene transitions can be a little wonky at times. The CGI is definitely noticeable in some parts. There's definitely a lot more that could have been done to develop the characters, and especially with Jade. I think Jade is probably the one that, like, I noticed with Katana. Like, her relationship with Katana was very weirdly, like, rushed at the end, and I think there was a really good opportunity to develop that relationship more. And then I would say Shao Kahn is fairly underwhelming as a villain. Yes, he does have the physical presence, but I just didn't really feel like as a character he was all that threatening. Like, he looks like a Thanos type of villain, but he just doesn't have that motivation or that, that drive that really makes you, like, hate him. Um, but, the movie does have its fair share of issues. But look, what I'm kind of looking for in a video game movie and what it's supposed to do, I think this movie really does all of that. It has a lot for fans of the game like me, where I could geek out over it and have a great time. But I was also just trying to watch the movie, like, as a casual viewer, and I think for the most part, people will be able to enjoy it. Like, there are a few things that maybe would seem kind of random and not make a ton of sense to people, but some of that is honestly just the world of Mortal Kombat and not as much of an issue with the script. Like, it's just characters just kind of appear certain ways, and, it's like, that's not really to do with, like, them not explaining something. That's just literally how it is. So there's maybe some parts that people just have to turn their brain off a little bit for, but I think it's fine enough. Like, you don't have to do that the whole movie. It's really just entertaining time. Like, I think the movie works quite well on its own. You don't even really need to watch the first movie to enjoy this one. I think it would help, not necessary. And more importantly, though, I don't think you need to play the games to enjoy this movie either. I think you could walk into it, pretty blind and still be able to have fun with it. And honestly, this got me very excited for the potential of a third film. Should they decide to make one, I really hope it does happen because, again, this was just a really good time for me. Look, I think Mortal Kombat 2 is far from one of the best movies of the year, but it's definitely one of the most entertaining to me. So I'm going to give Mortal Kombat 2 a B. And that about does it for this episode. If you want to follow my reviews, you can find me on Letterboxd at MovieKing1224. You can also listen to this podcast on your favorite apps such as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you have any comments or feedback, I would love to hear it and improve the show. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to hear more like it. I appreciate you all so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.